Since this is a popular question on the Half-Life subreddit, I feel compelled to make this video. I also want to add that my opinions in this video are all based on personal experience, since 13 years ago, my little 12-year-old self decided to start with Half-Life 2 because Half-Life 1 graphics looked like utter crap for a teen with a brand new PC. And in my opinion, the outdated graphics are the main reason people ask this question, since in 2023 Half-Life 1 graphics look quite repulsive to the modern gamer eyes, while Half-Life 2 graphics instead, even though it's a 19-year-old game, still hold up to this day. Yeah, the Source engine is truly timeless. The truth is that while the pixelated blood or the somewhat blocky characters could throw some people off, the visuals are not as bad as other classic FPS games, like Doom 1 or Doom 2 or Duke Nukem 3D for example, whose 2D sprites and flat textures aren't very easy to digest in this present day. Also, thanks to OpenGL, all the Half-Life textures have been smoothed out and they are way easier on the eyes than the software render counterpart. My advice is to get over this small problem and try Half-Life 1 out, since gameplay-wise it has got a lot of cool combat options and exploration sections to experience. Now, let's touch on to the second main reason on why newcomers would ask this question, which is the fear of missing out on the world-renowned yet overrated plot of Half-Life 2, if they were to skip Half-Life 1. So, in reality, Half-Life 2 plot isn't really too connected to Half-Life 1. In fact, its loose ties and lack of cohesion with its predecessor are one of the many reasons Half-Life 2 has been getting some flack lately. However, during your playthrough you will stumble onto chapters or sections that are purely narrative, like Red Letter Day or Black Mesa East. Here, the game pretty much traps the player inside rooms where other characters speak to Freeman, aka you, in a very familiar tone, often referencing to what happened inside the Black Mesa facility, and a newcomer to the franchise is certainly gonna feel lost during these sections. However, all these references are just a weak attempt to connect the second entry in the franchise to the first. In fact, all these characters treating Gordon like a big old friend didn't really have a name in Half-Life 1, they were just simple NPCs with some special voice lines, nor they ever introduced themselves as being Eli Vance or Dr. Isaac Kleiner. To add to that, all the NPCs in Half-Life 1 share the same three models, so pinpointing the identity of each one is never accurate. In addition to this, the Combines didn't exist in Half-Life 1. Sure, there is a vague connection with the final boss of the game having to leave his own world because a powerful force was colonizing it, but in typical Half-Life fashion this plotline is very vague and only the most veteran players know about it. Furthermore, an alien invasion is still taking place in Half-Life 2, with some of the aliens being enslaved and mechanized by the villainous Combines. But if you never played Half-Life 1, you will never understand why or how this alien invasion started. So yeah, if you're interested about the plot of this masterpiece of a franchise, do yourself a favor and play Half-Life 1 before Half-Life 2. Even though the storytelling in Half-Life 1 could be a little cryptic at times, you really need to experience the resonance cascade and its effects in first person to fully comprehend Half-Life 2 and its episodes. Black Mesa 2 is a nice option since it tries to explain the plot a bit better by adding some extra lines of dialogues that do help in clarifying some doubts a newcomer will certainly encounter. Black Mesa graphics are also amazing, so if you really can't get over Half-Life 1 graphics, you could try Black Mesa out too. Some sections are different from the original and Xen is long as hell, but it's better to get a taste of the first entry through this remake than nothing in my opinion. Now let's move on to the third and final point. Which game offers the best gameplay, which in my opinion is the most important question. You see, my personal opinion as an average classic FPS enjoyer that loves to carry 10 plus different weapons to cause mass destruction in every corridor or arena I encounter leans heavily towards Half-Life 1 being way better than Half-Life 2. In fact, I think Half-Life 2 gameplay is truly underwhelming since it showcases less guns and less enemy variety too. You will only use the same two automatic weapons, the SMG and AR2 for the majority of the game, not because the crossbow and revolver are unfun, but because the game will furnish you with so many ammos for the former guns and so little for the latter two, that the power fantasy many FPS players seek from the genre will remain just a fantasy, while in Half-Life 1 this power fantasy is present. As a final rhetorical question, let's ask ourselves which game is the hardest. I would say Half-Life 1 poses a bigger challenge than 2, both combat and puzzle-wise. The puzzles in Half-Life 2 are mostly physics-based, with you having to find enough junk around the map to either raise a ramp up or use antiquated carts as elevators. Half-Life 1 instead actually builds very interesting levels around puzzles, and while these puzzles might feel a bit too enigmatic at first, they do make a lot of sense in the end. Oh, and if you heard complaints about Half-Life 1 movement being too slippery as if Gordon moves on ice, or crybabies crying over the abundance of platforming sections that are too hard to overcome, just don't trust these people, okay? If Freeman moves too fast, you can always perma walk around Black Mesa, as if you're playing a competitive Counter-Strike Global Offensive match. To conclude, you should definitely play Half-Life 1 or Black Mesa before Half-Life 2. Oh, and don't forget that the episodes come after Half-Life 2, I still don't know how the hell people are still asking this question. Hope this video was helpful and see you